Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into a framework that's completely changing the game when it comes to water. We're talking about shifting water from just another utility bill to a core piece of business strategy. This isn't just about being green, it's about being resilient. We're going to break down the AWS Standard as a practical playbook for not just surviving, but thriving in a world where water is an increasingly precious resource.
And let's just start with the stakes, because they are massive. This quote really hits the nail on the head. We're past the point where water is some fringe environmental issue. It is now a central structural risk to, well, everything. For any business out there, this means that things like water scarcity, pollution, or even just shaky regulations can slam your bottom line, wreck your supply chain, and seriously damage your reputation.
So let's just put it as plainly as possible. Water risk is business risk. Full stop. It's a physical risk, when a drought literally shuts down your plant. It's a regulatory risk when new laws suddenly limit how much water you can use. And it is absolutely a reputational risk when the community you operate in starts seeing you as part of the problem. Getting a handle on this isn't just a nice to have anymore. It's fundamental to your company's future. To see how you can turn this risk into a real advantage, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the ISO Automation Lab channel.
So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with what's called the stewardship mindset. It's a really crucial shift in thinking. Then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of the AWS standard itself. What are the goals and how do you achieve them? After that, we'll make it all concrete by walking through a real-world example of a plant on this journey. And finally, we'll connect all the dots to the future of corporate reporting and why investors are paying very close attention to this.
Okay, so to really get the AWS standard, you have to first understand its core philosophy. This isn't just about tweaking a few processes. It's about a fundamental change in perspective. It's all about making that leap from being a simple user of water to becoming a true steward of it.
And this slide really lays it out perfectly. On the one hand, you have the old school consumption model. It's purely transactional, right? Water comes in, you use it, the wastewater goes out. The only thing you're really looking at is the cost on the utility bill. But the stewardship model, on the other hand, is completely different. It recognizes that your facility is part of a bigger picture, a shared water basin. The goal isn't just to cut costs, but to create long-term, shared value for everyone, your business, the community, and the environment.
And that brings us to the official definition. Let's pull this apart for a second. Socially and culturally equitable, that's about respecting water as a human right. Environmentally sustainable, pretty straightforward. Don't break the natural systems you rely on. Economically beneficial? Of course, it has to make business sense in the long run. But the secret sauce, the thing that holds it all together, is that last part, a stakeholder-inclusive process. You can't do this alone. It's all about collaboration.
So who's the driving force behind this whole movement? It's the Alliance for Water Stewardship, or AWS, and they're a pretty unique organization. They brought together big companies, major environmental NGOs, think World Wildlife Fund, and public agencies all to one table. Their mission? To create a single, credible, global standard that anyone, anywhere could use to become a better water steward.
All right, now for the nitty-gritty of the standard itself. It's actually built very elegantly around two key ideas. The what, as in what are the goals you're aiming for, and the how, the step-by-step process you follow to get there.
So first up is the what. The entire AWS framework is designed to deliver 5 specific outcomes. You can think of these as the 5 pillars of good water stewardship. They are the North Star, the ideal state that any site using the standard is constantly working toward.
And here they are. First, good water governance, basically managing water transparently and fairly. Second, a sustainable water balance, which means not taking more water out of the system than can be naturally replenished. Third, good water quality, so our activities don't pollute the water for others. Fourth is protecting important water-related areas, like critical wetlands. And finally, number 5, and this is a real game changer, safe water, sanitation, and hygiene for all, or WASH. This brings in a powerful social commitment that you just don't see in most industrial standards.
Okay, so those are the goals. They're big, they're comprehensive, and they're ambitious. Which leads to the obvious question, how does one factory or one farm actually start moving the needle on these things? What does it look like on the ground? Well, the how is this 5-step framework, and the most important word here is continual. This is not a one-and-done checkbox exercise. It's a cycle, a loop, a lot like the plan, do, check, act logic many of you already know. You gather data, you make a plan, you implement it, you check your results, and then you communicate what you've learned, which feeds right back into a smarter, better plan for the next cycle.
So to make this less abstract, let's follow the journey of a hypothetical industrial plant as it puts these 5 steps into action. This is where the theory really hits the pavement. All right, step 1, gather and understand. Think of this as the detective phase. Our plant doesn't just glance at its water bill. No, it creates a detailed map of every drop of water coming in, going out, and getting lost along the way. It tests its water quality, and, this is key, it looks beyond its own fence line. It identifies a critical local wetland and, just as importantly, it actually sits down and talks with community groups and farmers to understand their water challenges too. So now that they have all this data, it's time for step 2, commit and plan. The plant manager makes a public commitment, a huge step for accountability. Then, the team gets to work on a real plan with SMART goals, no more vague promises. They set a concrete, measurable target. We will reduce our consumptive water use by 15% within the next 3 years.
In step 3, the plan springs to life. And check out the mix of actions here. Inside their own facility, they're investing in new, efficient equipment to hit that 15% target. But they're also working outside their fence line. They partner with an NGO to restore that wetland they identified, and they chip in on a local wash project. This is what real stewardship looks like, improving your own operations while contributing to the health of the whole watershed.
But how do they know if any of this is actually working? That brings us to step 4, evaluate. You can't manage what you don't measure, right? So they install new meters to track every drop against their 15% goal. They monitor the health of the wetlands. And crucially, they hold regular review meetings, not to point fingers, but to learn from what's working and what isn't, so they can adapt the plan.
And the final piece of the puzzle, step 5, is all about closing the loop. Communicate and disclose. This is so important for building trust. They publish an annual report with all their data, warts and all, and share it openly with the community. They even take their findings to the local water authority, helping everyone in the region make smarter decisions about their shared resource.
Okay, let's zoom back out. All of this hard work on the ground isn't just about feeling good, it has a huge strategic payoff, especially when you look at where corporate sustainability and financial reporting are headed.
Now, the AWS certification system is designed to reward leadership. Just meeting the core requirements gets you certified, which is a big deal. But if you go further, you can hit gold status, which proves you're a leader in your region. And the top tier, platinum, is elite status. It shows you're having a measured, positive impact on the entire water basin. This isn't just a plaque for the wall. It's a powerful, verified signal to investors and customers that you are way ahead of the curve.
And this leads to one of the biggest strategic benefits of all, interoperability. Anyone in sustainability knows the headache of reporting to a dozen different frameworks. Well, the beauty of AWS is that the work you do doesn't just sit in a binder on a shelf. It's designed to be the foundation for everything else. The motto is simple and powerful. Report once, use many times.
And look how this plays out. The data you gather for AWS, it feeds directly into the CDP water questionnaire that investors demand. It aligns perfectly with the Global Reporting Initiative, or GRI. As companies start setting science-based targets for nature, AWS provides the on-the-ground proof for your freshwater goals. And for the big one, the new Task Force on Nature-Related Financial Disclosures, or TNFD, AWS gives you exactly the kind of data on risks and opportunities they're looking for. It is quickly becoming the operational backbone for all things water.
So this all brings us to one final, really critical question you should be asking yourself. The trend is crystal clear. Voluntary reporting on environmental risk is becoming mandatory. Investors, regulators, your customers, they're all demanding more transparency and real action. So is your current water strategy truly ready for what's coming? The AWS Standard offers a clear, credible roadmap to not just answer that question, but to build a truly resilient organization. If you want to keep exploring the frameworks that turn major risks into strategic opportunities, make sure you're subscribed for more deep dives just like this one. Thanks so much for watching.